From Amateur Radio Newsline Report number 1968, these are the Ham Nation headlines for Wednesday, July 15th, 2015. After an extended hiatus, Amateur Radio Newsline is back. Skeeter Nash, N5ASH, and I will be doing our best to continue what Bill Pasternak started back in the mid-70s. When Bill passed away, Newsline lost not only its leader, but its head writer and editor. Reading stories into a microphone is the easy part, but nothing happens before those stories are gathered, edited, and written for production. And that was, for the most part, all done by Bill. Skeeter Nash, N5ASH, picks up the story.
Just days before his passing, Don Wilbanks, AE5DW, and I shared a conference call with Bill to discuss the future of Newsline. I told Bill about an email I received from a ham who was very interested in volunteering to take on the task of writing each week's newscast script, something Bill had done almost exclusively since its inception as Westlink Amateur Radio News in September of 1977. After hearing her qualifications and background, Bill's words were, and I quote, "Hire her." So now, please join the entire Newsline staff in welcoming aboard Karen Eve Murray, KD2GUT, as our new lead news writer. Karen lives on Long Island, New York, and holds a general class ham license. She's a writer, editor, and an equestrian and wildlife rescuer. Now, we'll let Karen tell you more about herself.
Hello from New York. This is Karen Eve Murray, KD2GUT, and I'm a New York newspaper writer and editor and the newest member of the team here at Amateur Radio Newsline. I'm especially excited to be here because Newsline is a perfect combination of my work in the news business with all the best parts of radio. I got my ticket last year after waiting almost a lifetime to take the leap, but I'm so glad to be here. So while I'm catching up on all those years of missed QSOs, I'll also be looking for and writing about all those things that affect hams like you and me on and off the air. I can't wait to see what's ahead for all of us.
Thanks, Karen, and welcome to the Amateur Radio Newsline family.
Welcome, Karen. You're going to fit in just fine. Now on to the news. In the wake of Field Day, several states issued proclamations recognizing amateur radio and its role in emergency communication. Governors in Alabama, Connecticut, Florida, Indiana, New Hampshire, Oklahoma, Wisconsin, and Washington State were joined by officials in various counties and cities around the nation honoring the hobby with proclamations recognizing ham's public service and emergency response roles. At the same time, lawmakers on Capitol Hill were also turning a sharper focus on ham's service in natural disasters, as Senator Roger Wicker, a Mississippi Republican, presented that chamber's equivalent of the Amateur Radio Parity Act already under consideration in the House of Representatives. The bipartisan bill, co-sponsored by Democratic Senator Richard Blumenthal of Connecticut, addresses the land use restrictions that often prohibit amateur radio antennas from being installed, especially in areas where homeowners associations exist, and set standards for neighborhood aesthetics. In sponsoring the bill, Wicker noted the role hams had played during Hurricane Katrina, which had left more conventional forms of communication disabled. The bill, which is now on the floor of the Senate, seeks to protect the rights of radio amateurs to install antennas and towers for communication. In just a few weeks, school kids in Indiana and around the country will get a rare chance to talk to someone literally out of this world.
In little more than a month, elementary school students in Bunker Hill, Indiana will be experiencing the ultimate QSO. Sometime in August, they get to work the International Space Station. The students were chosen earlier this year for the program, which is known as Amateur Radio on the International Space Station. Maconaquah Elementary School was among those approved for the coveted DX, which will take shape as a 10-minute QSO on FM. The school district plans to provide a live feed to each of the school district's buildings, as well as make the contact available for listeners to hear online. As in years past, hams aboard the space station have been busy connecting with students this year, and recently completed a scheduled radio contact with Tulsa Community College in Oklahoma. On July 1st, students there connected with one of the Russian cosmonauts on board.
And finally, if you're a fan of Top Band, the FCC has some good news. The FCC decision affects amateur use on the band's range between 1900 kilohertz and 2000 kilohertz. David Sumner, K1ZZ, CEO of the ARRL, said he expected hams would likely have to contend with radio buoys operating on 160 meters out of fishing vessels. But according to the FCC, the buoys are mostly low power and occupy a narrow portion of the band, and they're expected to have negligible effect on hams using those frequencies. And that's all from the Amateur Radio Newsline, your independent source for amateur radio news for over 37 years and counting at www.arnewsline.org. For Skeeter Nash, N5ASH, and Karen Eve Murray, KD2GUT, I'm Don Wilbanks, AE5DW. 73 And we'll see you next time here on Ham Nation.